the galaxy had a simple rule. Primitive worlds were conquered. Advanced worlds were negotiated with. Earth was classified as primitive. At least, that's what the Galactic Dominion believed. From the observation decks of the Dominion flagship Eternal Judgment, Grand Admiral Zyron stared at the tiny blue planet rotating peacefully beneath the clouds. Population, he asked. Approximately 11 billion. Military capability? The officer glanced at the report and laughed. Fragmented. Hundreds of independent governments. No unified fleet. No faster-than-light technology. No planetary defense grid. A grin spread across Zyron's face. So the intelligence reports were correct. Earth looked harmless. No massive orbital shipyards. No moon-sized battle stations. No energy shields surrounding the planet. Nothing that resembled the military power of any established galactic civilization. To the Dominion, humanity wasn't a threat. It was an opportunity. A resource-rich world filled with intelligent labor, valuable oceans, rare biological materials, and billions of future workers. The High Council approved the invasion in less than 12 minutes. They expected complete victory within 6 hours. Across the galaxy, news channels broadcast the event live. Commentators predicted humanity would surrender before the first Dominion cruiser even entered orbit. Betting markets opened. Military analysts debated only one question. How quickly would Earth fall? No one asked whether humans could win, because nobody believed they could. Not even Earth's own satellites detected the invasion fleet until it was already descending from hyperspace. Thousands of enormous warships appeared above the moon like dark mountains blocking the stars. Cities around the world watched in disbelief as glowing objects filled the night sky. Governments declared global emergencies. Civilian networks collapsed under billions of simultaneous messages. For the first time in human history, every nation realized they were facing the same enemy. Within minutes, emergency leaders from every major country connected through secure communication channels. Old rivals, old enemies, old alliances. None of it mattered anymore. One sentence echoed through every command center on Earth. We stand together, or we disappear together. The emergency meeting lasted exactly 23 minutes. No arguments. No politics. No delays. History would later remember it as the fastest international agreement ever reached. Operation Iron Horizon was activated. A military protocol so secret that even most presidents had never heard of it. Deep beneath mountains, hidden beneath deserts, buried under polar ice, massive doors that had remained sealed for decades slowly began to open. Facilities officially listed as abandoned suddenly came alive. Power surged through underground cities. Ancient defense systems awakened. Factories that had never appeared on any satellite image began manufacturing at impossible speed. Above Earth, the Dominion fleet smiled confidently. They thought they were watching a frightened civilization preparing to surrender. They had no idea. Humanity wasn't preparing to surrender. Humanity was preparing to introduce the galaxy to the oldest lesson in human history. Never underestimate a species that survived itself. The Dominion fleet drifted silently above Earth, its colossal warships casting shadows across continents. Grand Admiral Zyron watched the planet from the bridge of the Eternal Judgment with complete confidence. Send the surrender demand. A transmission powerful enough to blanket the entire planet echoed across every television, radio, satellite, and communication network. People of Earth, your world is now under the protection of the Galactic Dominion. Lay down your weapons. Surrender peacefully, and your species will be allowed to serve the Empire. Resist, and your civilization will cease to exist. Silence followed. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 2 minutes. The bridge crew exchanged amused glances. They're terrified, one officer chuckled. They're deciding who gets to surrender first. Zyron smiled. Typical primitive species. Then Earth's reply arrived. Not from a politician. Not from a king. Not from a president. Instead, every Dominion receiver picked up the same message, spoken in hundreds of human languages before being translated automatically. We acknowledge your transmission. A brief pause followed. Then came 4 words that confused every alien officer. Negative. We decline. The bridge fell silent. Decline? One commander repeated. They declined an invasion? Zyron's expression hardened. No species has ever rejected Dominion authority. Before he could issue another order, long-range scanners detected something impossible. Sir, unusual seismic activity across Earth's surface. Hundreds of underground facilities opening. Thermal signatures increasing exponentially. Massive blast doors slid open beneath deserts in North Africa. Mountain ranges in Asia split apart. Deep beneath Antarctica, kilometer-wide hangar doors pushed through centuries of ice. The Dominion had mapped every military base on Earth. None of these locations existed on their charts. Thousands of enormous elevators began rising toward the surface. Each carried machines unlike anything the galaxy expected from a so-called primitive civilization. Not elegant. Not beautiful. Built for one purpose alone. Railgun batteries the size of skyscrapers locked into firing position. Orbital missile silos emerged from hidden caverns. Underground factories activated assembly lines that had remained untouched for decades. Autonomous drones poured from concealed launch bays like swarms of metallic insects. Inside one classified bunker, General Amelia Carter stood before the largest tactical display ever constructed by humanity. Around her stood military commanders from every nation on Earth. Former rivals. Former enemies. Now united. A young officer looked nervously toward the incoming fleet. General, are we really going to fight them? Carter smiled. We've spent centuries preparing for the wrong enemy. She looked up at the hologram of thousands of alien warships. Looks like we finally found the right one. Across Earth, civilians watched as military convoys rolled out from hidden tunnels that no map had ever recorded. Entire forests shifted aside to reveal launch complexes. Artificial islands opened like mechanical flowers, exposing naval cannons capable of firing directly into orbit. The Dominion scanners became overwhelmed. Impossible! There are thousands of weapons appearing out of nowhere. Our intelligence reports never mentioned any of this. Zyron slammed his fist onto the command console. Intelligence doesn't miss an entire planetary defense network. An analyst swallowed nervously. Sir, perhaps they were never meant to be found. Then the first launch began. Across every continent, columns of blue fire erupted into the sky. Not dozens. Not hundreds. But tens of thousands of missiles accelerated toward orbit simultaneously. The darkness above Earth transformed into a sea of blazing light. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Dominion realized they hadn't invaded a helpless world. They had awakened a civilization that had spent generations hiding its true strength. And the first battle for Earth had just begun. The first wave of human missiles ripped through the atmosphere like a storm of blue fire. From the bridge of the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Zyron watched thousands of glowing signatures race toward his fleet. He didn't flinch. Activate point defense batteries. Within seconds, the Dominion fleet answered. Millions of plasma bolts illuminated space, forming a brilliant web of light. One after another, human missiles exploded into blazing fragments. The bridge erupted in laughter. They actually believed primitive rockets could reach us. How adorable! Our shields haven't even activated. Zyron folded his arms. I told you. They're desperate. Then the tactical officer froze. Sir. What is it? The debris. Every destroyed missile had scattered hundreds of tiny metallic objects. At first, they appeared harmless. Then every fragment ignited. Thousands became millions. Millions became billions. Each fragment unfolded into a microscopic autonomous drone. The tactical display turned crimson. Unknown contacts multiplying. They're attaching themselves to our hulls. What are they doing? The answer came seconds later. Across the Dominion fleet, lights began flickering. Weapons shut down without warning. Shield generators overloaded. Communications dissolved into static. One cruiser suddenly spun out of formation. Another collided with a nearby destroyer. A carrier lost all engine control. "Sir," the chief engineer shouted, "our systems are being infiltrated." "Impossible. Their technology can't penetrate Dominion networks." "It isn't hacking our computers." The engineer's voice trembled. "They're physically dismantling them." The microscopic drones tore through exposed circuitry atom by atom, consuming critical components faster than repair systems could respond. Humanity had not launched ordinary missiles. They had launched factories. Self-replicating combat nanomachines. Weapons forbidden by nearly every advanced civilization. Zyron's confidence vanished. "Destroy every drone." "We're trying. They're multiplying faster than we can eliminate them." Across Earth, every military command center watched the battle unfold. General Amelia Carter remained calm. Phase 1 successful. An officer smiled. Dominion shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not intelligent machines. Exactly. For decades, humanity had understood one truth. If aliens ever arrived, their defenses would be built to defeat enemies they already knew. Humans would become the enemy they had never imagined. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, another hidden facility awakened. Massive armored doors separated slowly. Inside rested Earth's greatest secret. Not missiles. Not aircraft. Warships. Hundreds of enormous vessels suspended inside underground construction docks. Each had been built in complete secrecy over 70 years. No nation had claimed ownership. No flag flew upon their hulls. Only one word was engraved across every ship. Earth. Engineers completed final launch checks. Fusion reactors roared to life. Artificial gravity systems activated. Railguns charged until their barrels glowed white. An elderly technician gently placed his hand against one steel hull. "I spent 30 years building you." He smiled. "Now go make it worth it." Above, the Dominion fleet struggled to regroup. Several cruisers exploded after their reactors failed. Formation discipline collapsed. Emergency distress calls flooded every military frequency. The live broadcasts spreading across the galaxy changed instantly. Only an hour earlier, commentators had predicted humanity's surrender. Now billions of viewers watched Dominion warships drifting helplessly through orbit. Panic spread across civilizations that had feared the Dominion for centuries. One reporter whispered, "If humans can do this, what else have they been hiding?" Back aboard the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Zyron stared at Earth. The blue planet no longer looked primitive. It looked patient. And then scanners detected something rising from beneath the surface. Not missiles. Not aircraft. Entire fleets. One after another, gigantic human warships burst from hidden launch shafts across the planet, climbing toward space through pillars of fire. Zyron's face turned pale. This, he barely managed to speak, was never supposed to happen. The skies above Earth burned with streaks of fire as hundreds of colossal warships climbed through the atmosphere. To every observer across the galaxy, the impossible was unfolding. Humanity had a fleet. Not a handful of experimental ships. Not outdated prototypes. An entire armada. The Dominion's long-range scanners struggled to identify them. Unknown vessels detected. Estimated count, 312. No correction. The number continued climbing. 400. 500. 648 warships confirmed. A stunned silence filled the bridge of the Eternal Judgment. Admiral Zyron couldn't understand it. How? Our surveillance covered this planet for over 200 years. We scanned every continent. We monitored every launch. Where did they hide an entire fleet? No one had an answer. Because humanity had never hidden the ships. They had hidden the factories. For nearly a century, automated construction complexes buried beneath mountains and oceans had been assembling warships piece by piece. Every nation had contributed. Every conflict had taught them something. Every technological breakthrough had been quietly added to the project. Not for war against each other. For the day someone from the stars came looking for a fight. That day had finally arrived. General Amelia Carter stepped onto the command deck of Earth's flagship, the ESS Resolve. Unlike Dominion vessels, the Resolve wasn't sleek or elegant. Its hull was layered with thick composite armor. Its engines were oversized. Its railguns stretched nearly the entire length of the ship. Everything about it screamed one message: built to survive, built to win. Fleet status? Carter asked. A young commander smiled. All battle groups online. Orbital defense synchronized. Railgun capacitors at 100%. Nuclear reserve authorized. Drone carriers deployed. Carter nodded. Transmit to every captain. Seconds later, 600 human warships received the same order. Today we fight as one world. No borders. No flags. Only Earth. Across every bridge, thousands of sailors repeated the final words. Only Earth. The Dominion struck first. Thousands of plasma cannons erupted simultaneously. Brilliant beams of superheated energy raced toward the ascending human fleet. Several human destroyers disappeared in explosions. Fragments scattered through orbit. The Dominion bridge erupted in cheers. They're falling. We're breaking their formation. But the celebration lasted only seconds. The surviving human ships didn't retreat. They accelerated. Straight toward the enemy. They're charging us? An alien officer gasped. They're entering close combat range. No fleet does that. General Carter gave one calm command. Railguns. The bridge crew answered together. Charged. Fire. Hundreds of magnetic cannons released their payloads at nearly the speed of light. Unlike glowing plasma weapons, the projectiles were almost invisible. There was no dramatic beam. Only impact. The first Dominion battleship simply ceased to exist. A tungsten slug punched through its shields, armor, reactor, and command core before exiting the opposite side. Half the ship continued drifting. The other half exploded. Then another. And another. Within seconds, dozens of Dominion cruisers were torn apart. The alien commanders stared in disbelief. Our shields? They ignored our shields. An engineer shouted. Negative. They didn't ignore them. They hit with so much kinetic force that the shields collapsed before they could disperse the energy. Admiral Zyron felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Every battle doctrine the Dominion relied upon was failing. Humanity wasn't fighting like any species in the galaxy. They weren't trying to match alien technology. They had designed weapons specifically to exploit its weaknesses. Then the tactical display flashed crimson once again. Admiral. New contacts emerging behind us. Zyron turned toward the holographic map. More human warships. Not from Earth. They were arriving from the far side of the moon. Then from deep space beyond Mars. Then from the asteroid belt. Hidden reserve fleets. The Dominion hadn't invaded one defended planet. They had sailed into a carefully prepared trap spanning the entire solar system. As hundreds of fresh human warships closed in from every direction, Admiral Zyron whispered the words no Dominion commander had ever imagined saying. Order a retreat. For a few seconds, no one moved. Dominion captains stared at their displays in disbelief. Retreat? The Galactic Dominion had conquered more than 400 civilizations over 3,000 years. Its fleets had never retreated from a battle. Not once. Yet now, above a world they had labeled primitive, the impossible command had been given. The surviving warships turned toward open space, their hyperspace drives beginning to charge. General Amelia Carter watched the tactical map from the bridge of the ESS Resolve. Enemy vessels preparing for FTL escape. A young officer looked at her. Do we pursue them? Carter remained silent for a moment. Then she shook her head. No. The bridge fell quiet. They came here believing fear would win them this war. She looked toward the shrinking alien fleet. They're leaving with something much more powerful. They're leaving with the truth. As the battered Dominion armada fled beyond the orbit of Neptune, emergency transmissions flooded every known star system. The messages carried the same warning. Do not invade Earth. At first, many governments assumed it was a coding error. Then the combat recordings arrived. Entire fleets watched in stunned silence as hidden human defenses emerged from beneath mountains, oceans, and polar ice. They saw Dominion cruisers destroyed by kinetic railguns. They watched billions of autonomous nanodrones dismantle advanced warships from the inside. They witnessed a united humanity fighting not as separate nations, but as one civilization. The recordings spread across the galaxy faster than any news in recorded history. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion looked vulnerable. Inside the Galactic High Council chamber, panic replaced confidence. One counselor slammed both hands against the table. How did our intelligence fail so completely? Another answered quietly. It didn't. We were looking for technology. We never looked for determination. An elderly strategist replayed the final moments of the battle. He paused the image on Earth's fleet. They spent decades preparing for an enemy they had never met. That level of patience should terrify every civilization in this room. No one argued. Months later, a diplomatic convoy approached the solar system. Not warships. Ambassadors. Scientists. Historians. Species that had once feared the Dominion now wanted something else. An alliance. Human representatives welcomed them, not with threats, but with open negotiations. The galaxy was shocked once again. After such overwhelming victory, humanity demanded no tribute. No conquered worlds. No revenge. Only one condition. We will stand with any civilization that seeks peace. But if anyone comes to enslave another world, a human ambassador looked around the chamber. They will face all of us. One by one, star nations rose to their feet. The largest alliance in galactic history was born that day. Not through conquest, through trust. Years later, students across hundreds of worlds studied the Battle of Earth. Military academies devoted entire courses to humanity's strategy. Historians gave the conflict a single name: the day arrogance lost. A famous inscription was eventually carved into the entrance of the Galactic Peace Assembly. Every visitor stopped to read it. They believed Earth was weak because it chose peace. They discovered too late that peace is strongest when defended by those willing to fight for it. And beneath those words stood the official lesson every cadet was required to memorize. Never judge a civilization by what it displays in times of peace. Judge it by what it becomes when everything it loves is threatened. From that day forward, no empire ever attempted to conquer Earth again, because the galaxy had finally learned a lesson written in fire across the stars. Humanity was never easy prey. Humanity was the warning.